Hey there folks, and welcome to part 3 of this carving video series. So in this video we're going to be carving a sweater, and this guy comes complete with a little Christmas tree cutout, which I did not do on this one. This one I did kind of a couple bands on there to make it like an ugly sweater. Hey guys, if you're using these stencils, remember that these holes are about 1 millimeter wide. So if you're using a pencil sharpened by Dad's, it's just not going to cut it. It doesn't go through, right? So you do have some options. So this is a 0.9 millimeter lead pencil from Bic, and it's cutting it close, but it fits, as you can see. 0.9 millimeters makes the cut. So it'll go in there. However, you got to keep it almost pretty vertical for it to not break on you. I also use, sometimes on occasion, I'll use these guys because they're not quite as thick as the 0.9. But anyway, these work as well. They are a little bit springy. But my favorite go-to pencil is the Kudu Toga 0.5 millimeter. And the fancy thing about this pencil is that it is self-sharpening. Do you know what that means? It means, so look at this little guy right here. So I'm going to push it on the end of the wood over here, and you can see how it spins. So that little white mark that was there, look at it as it comes in. So it's actually spinning the lead as it's working. So you'll see the white thing come into that little window and then go away. So, yeah. So it actually always keeps the sharp end of the pencil, of the lead on there, and it works fantastic for laying out these stencils. One thing before we get started is the grain direction. Obviously, you can see this piece of wood is pretty square, so we're dealing with a 2-inch wide piece of wood, and it looks roughly 2 inches wide as well. So in this case, I like to set my stencil with the grain direction up and down like this. Okay, so I like setting it right there, kind of in the middle, and using my pencil and tracing it out. And I'm also going to trace out this Christmas tree in the center. Okay, and then you can always finish filling in these lines, but they're not absolutely necessary. Okay, so just like with the stocking and the mitten, we're going to get rid of all this empty space over here. So I'm going to start off on this side, then work my way to that side, and essentially work all the way around. Okay, nothing much to it. Alright, let's do the other side now. Okay, so that top part looks pretty close. This one, I'm having a little bit of issue there. I'll probably reduce it just a little bit more. Okay, now we can work on this section. So here's kind of where I like to take out my V-tool and use it to my advantage. So there. I can go across the end grain much easier than I can with the knife. There it is. would say this is the tricky part of this one, because you're dealing with a very small amount of end grain, and not only that, it's also got to have this angle on this side. Not impossible. Okay, let's separate the sleeve from the cuff. Do the sleeve and the cuff on the opposite side too. And let's do the sleeve. I mean that section. If this part gives you too much trouble, don't worry so much about reducing this section. You don't have to bring it down. Just kind of work it in like that, right? Make it a little bit longer. But if you can, I think the proportions look quite nice this way. Okay. That looks pretty good. Yeah. Makes a little boxy over here, but we'll fix that up. And right over here. There we go. Nice. Okay, so just like we did with the other. Oh, oops, sorry, I kicked you. Okay, so just like we did with the other two carvings, we're going to also take our V-tool and outline all the lines on the interior, except for the tree. We're not going to do the tree just yet. Okay, so there's one arm sleeve. There's the other one. Let's do the collar. Okay, and let's do... separate those guys right there. And these guys. Okay, so the next step after this is to round over all the hard edges. So just like with the mitten and the stocking, take off all those hard edges. And especially when you get to these intersections right here, just do them in both directions. And how much you round them over is your choice. But I just give it enough curvature that, you know, it looks nice. Because remember folks, this is going to be kind of one amongst many, hopefully, on your tree or someone else's tree. So, not super critical that you spend a whole lot of time beautifying it. But definitely put in the effort. And round over the cuffs as well to these rests. Okay. So we scored those sleeves a little bit, and we separated them just a little bit more from the body. And same for the sleeves. Okay, and let's do the exact same thing for these guys. The wings go in this direction. I'm going to separate the collar from the body a little bit more. And the same thing as we did with the other two. Give that a little bit of depth. And obviously be careful with your fingers here when that knife exits on the other side. And if you have a number 3 gouge, this is where that tool excels. You can just put it in there, kind of push it towards your stop cut. It's actually much safer than using a knife. But, well, despite the number of times I've gone up into the house, I did not bring my number 3 gouge. So, yeah. Okay, now let's just round over the rest of this. Great. So that's pretty much the sweater, and now the only thing left to do is the Christmas tree. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to score the outline of the Christmas tree. You could do this with a V-tool, but you're going to have to come back with a knife anyway, and frankly there's not much to score. And not much, but these designs are so small that it's kind of hard to use a V-tool effectively. So I did all the upper parts of the branches first, and then I'm doing all the ones that go the other way. Okay, and now it's just a simple chip carve. So I go like this, and there it is. You don't have to go very deep. Maybe overdoing it here. Okay, that's looking good. Just cleaning up that outline a little bit more. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to round over the Christmas tree itself. So right now it has a bit of a sharp edge. So I'll do all the upward slants on one side. Turn around. And notice how I'm being very mindful of the grain direction here. Okay, and let's do this underside right here. I think that'll pass off as an ugly sweater, at least under some amount of scrutiny. So I think that looks pretty cool. But I think just for the sake of time and showing you guys how easy this is, I'm going to call this guy done. And of course on the back, if you wanted to, you could use a number 7 gouge. I like this one, number 7 10mm by file. And I just kind of give it some scallops on the back and give you a nice texture, so that when you pick up the piece, it even feels nice in your hand. So, as opposed to this rough stuff, or if you like sanding, you can sand the back of this piece before you oil it. Alright guys, so this completes our video series of carving these Christmas ornaments. So, if you're in the mood and you need to make some quick presents, these are perfect for those stocking stuffers.